I opened the door, and there she stood. Same fake smile. Same perfume that used to make my stomach twist. And next to her, a boy. Couldn't have been more than 8. Quiet kid. Looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. She said my name like we were old friends. Jack. I didn't say anything back. Just leaned against the doorframe and waited. I know this is a lot, she started, eyes darting toward the boy, but I didn't know who else to turn to. That was the first truth she'd told in years. Now, I'm not the type to make a scene. I don't yell. Don't argue. Life's too short for all that. But when someone steals from you once, your peace, your trust, you don't forget it. You store it somewhere quiet. Somewhere deep. And when the time comes, you make sure they remember it, too. I told her she could come in. Just her. The boy stayed outside with a bottle of water and my dog, Gus, keeping watch. We sat at the kitchen table. She didn't touch the coffee I poured her. Just talked. Said the man she left me for wasn't around anymore. Said she'd lost the apartment, the job, the whatever. Said the kid wasn't his. Wasn't mine either. Some fella after that. She was just trying to do right now. I nodded when it made sense and didn't nod when it didn't. After a while, she got to the point. She needed a place to stay, just for a little while. Needed stability, she said. For the boy. Not for her, of course. Always someone else she's sacrificing for. I asked her why me. She said I was the only one who ever really had it together. Her words, not mine. I told her I had a small guest house behind the shop. Bed, bathroom, hot plate, separate entrance. She could stay a week. 2, if the boy stayed out of trouble. She smiled like she'd won something. I smiled back. Now, here's the part she didn't know, the part that mattered. I'd been waiting for this moment. Not hoping for it. Just ready. The way you leave a rifle cleaned and loaded behind the seat of your truck. Just in case. She thought she was coming back to lean on me. She didn't know she was walking into a trap. Not a big one. Not the kind with yelling and threats. Just a quiet, legal, polite little trap. The kind that starts with, sure, stay a while. And ends with, you should have read the fine print. But that part would come later. For now, I poured her another coffee, told her to get settled. Then I walked outside, gave the boy a nod, and told him Gus don't bite unless he's told to. Kid didn't smile, but he petted the dog. Fair start, I figured. Meanwhile, back inside, the first domino had already tipped. And she didn't even see it fall. She moved into the guest house that night. Took 2 trips from her beat-up sedan, one for a suitcase, one for the kids' things. Everything smelled like cigarettes and old fast food. I didn't comment. The boy's name was Eli. Quiet, polite. Said, yes sir, and thank you, without being told. Looked tired all the time. I figured he'd seen more than he should have for a kid his age. I didn't ask questions. Just pointed out where the towels were, how the hot water took a minute, and not to leave food out, we get raccoons. He nodded. His mother, Amanda, gave me another one of those fake thank you smiles, the kind she used to flash at court clerks and landlords. I told her we'd write up a basic rental agreement in the morning. Just something simple, I said. Keeps it clean. She waved it off. Oh Jack, we don't need that. We're family. We do, I said, and handed her a pen. It was a short form. Nothing tricky. Just laid out the stay was temporary, utilities included, and, most important, that any illegal activity or unpaid rent would void the agreement immediately. I slid it across the kitchen table. She glanced at it, barely skimmed, and signed. That was the first nail. The next few days passed quiet. I kept working, mornings on a roofing job over in Oak Ridge, afternoons at the shop behind the house. Amanda mostly stayed inside. Eli played with Gus, fed the chickens, helped me stack firewood without being asked. Good kid. The townsfolk started noticing. Folks at the diner mentioned seeing her. Nobody asked questions yet. Small towns don't need questions, they've got looks. Amanda tried to charm her way back into the scene. Walked into town one afternoon all dressed up, hair curled, like she was the mayor's wife. Went by the salon, the grocery store, even the church office. Started spinning stories. Said I invited her back. Said we were rebuilding. I didn't correct her. Didn't say a word. Let her build whatever story she wanted. She could lay the bricks herself, I'd just be here when it all came crashing down. At night, I'd hear her on the phone, loud through the thin walls. Arguing with someone. Sounded like bills, job stuff, maybe a boyfriend she hadn't quite shaken off. I didn't listen too close. Just made a note of it. Every now and then, she'd bring up old times, casually. Like they were fond memories. You remember that lake trip, she'd say. Sure, I'd reply, not looking up. Never added more than that. I wasn't bitter. Just done. The kids, mine, knew she was back. My daughter came by, looked her mother square in the eye, said hi, then didn't say another word the whole visit. My boy? He sent a text, she gone yet? Amanda kept trying. Made pancakes for Eli and left a few on my porch. Told him to bring them over. He did, stood awkwardly while I tasted one. Not bad, I said. He grinned for the first time. That night, I made a copy of the rental form and added an addendum, clause for eviction upon breach of good faith. Had it notarized next morning. She thought she was settling in. What she didn't see was that every word, every favor, every step back into my life, I was writing it down. Not for drama. Not for show. Just for the record. Because the day was coming when she'd step one toe too far over the line. And when she did, I wouldn't need to raise my voice. I'd just hand her the paperwork. About a week in, she started pushing. Not big things at first. Little ones. Asked if she could run a space heater out there, said the guest house got chilly at night. I said sure. That's what the extra power clause was for. Then came the accidental overdraft on her end of the grocery bill. Said she'd Venmo it later. I nodded. Wrote it down. Still waiting. She started leaving things inside my house again. A sweater on the couch. Shampoo in the upstairs shower. Toothbrush on the bathroom sink. Old habit of hers, nest building. Like a stray cat trying to make itself a house cat again. Didn't say anything. Just quietly dropped her things back in a box on the guest house porch each night. Never labeled it. She got the message. Eli was still helping around the place. Split kindling. Ran tools to me in the shop. Didn't say much, but he was watching everything. Smart eyes. Wary, like he knew this arrangement had a ticking clock on it. Amanda started talking about jobs. Claimed she had an offer, something remote. I asked what it was. She gave me a name and a company that didn't come up in a search. Just got to get a laptop fixed first, she added. She asked to borrow mine. I laughed. She didn't. When she realized I wasn't joking, she tried to soften it. Just trying to do better, Jack. You know, get back on my feet. I gave her a polite smile. Better start with shoes, I said. Can't do much standing without M. That was the end of that conversation. The next day, I put a password on the Wi-Fi and set data limits. She noticed. Didn't say anything out loud, but she looked at me like I'd kicked her dog. I sipped my coffee and changed the subject. In town, things were shifting. Folks were talking more freely. Small nods. Questions half-asked. Didn't expect to see her again, someone said at the hardware store. Reckon you two patchin' things up, asked the pastor's wife, real gentle-like. I just shrugged. She's around. That's all. Didn't have to say more. People here can read a shrug like a novel. I stopped by City Hall that week and asked for a copy of the old property line survey. Just want to confirm some boundaries, I told them. Turns out the guest house, though technically on my land, had its own mailing address. That'd come in handy soon enough. Next day, I drove out to a storage unit I'd been renting. Pulled a folder out from the old lockbox, had everything from the divorce papers to her last known employment record. She thought she was improvising. I was following a blueprint. And by the time she realized that, there wouldn't be any doors left to knock on. That Saturday I held a little cookout. Nothing fancy, just a grill, a cooler of beer, and a dozen or so folks from around the county. The kind of thing we used to do regular before life got loud. I invited a few of the old regulars, Dale from the feed store, Miss Connie from the post office, and the Fergusons, who always brought too much potato salad and left with too much beer. Amanda came out halfway through with Eli. She'd put on a sundress and makeup, like she was heading to church on Easter. Started mingling, real casual. Told folks how she was staying with Jack for a while, like it was some kind of soft reunion. I stood by the grill flipping burgers, letting her talk. Didn't correct her. Didn't need to. Connie cornered me by the woodpile later, drink in hand. She back for good, she asked, real direct. Just renting a room, I said. Connie's eyebrows went up. She didn't say another word. Just nodded once, like she'd heard everything she needed. That was the thing about a small town, you don't have to tell the truth loud. You just let the right folks whisper it. Amanda made a show of helping clean up, laughing at the Fergusons' jokes and hugging people goodbye like old friends. I watched her shake hands with a realtor named Dennis Clive, man who'd tried to buy my backlit a year ago. Heard her say something about opportunities and property value. Later that night, I found her pacing behind the guest house on the phone. Didn't try to hide it either. Her voice carried. He's comfortable. Predictable. I can work with that. That's what she said. Didn't flinch. Didn't lose sleep over it. Just went inside and added a new clause to the lease, no business negotiations or third-party property discussions without written permission. Slipped it under her door the next morning with a sticky note. Please sign. For clarity. She signed it. No questions. The next few days, I kept things quiet. Took Eli fishing down by the creek one morning. Kid had never held a rod before. Caught a bluegill and smiled without meaning to. I told him he could keep the lure. Amanda was trying harder. Cooking a little. Cleaning. Dropping lines like, we were always good when things were simple. I nodded. That was all she got. Later that week, I called my lawyer buddy Dave from upstate. Asked him to look over the paperwork, rental agreement, boundaries, her employment status, child custody. He called back after an hour. Jack, he said, you setting her up for something? I just said, not yet. He laughed. Well, if you ever decide to, you're about 6 inches from the goal line. I thanked him and hung up. Amanda didn't know it yet, but her rent was coming due, not in money, but in consequences. She thought she was rebuilding something. She was. A gallows. Week 3 rolled around, and Amanda started getting bolder. She asked if she could have a few friends over for a little dinner. Said they were just from church. I said fine, just remind Em it's a guest house, not a resort. They showed up in a shiny SUV with Nashville plates. All hair gel and business casual, like they were pitching a startup. Didn't talk like church folks. I watched from my porch while they walked through the yard like they owned it. One of them pointed at the old oak tree near the fence line and said something about shade potential. Another asked if the guest house had its own septic. Amanda laughed and waved it off. I stayed quiet. Let Em finish. Next morning, I printed out a new notice. Unauthorized showings of private property are grounds for immediate eviction. Stapled it to her door. No comment. She didn't mention it, but I could hear her on the phone again that night, a little louder, a little more desperate. Words like, "I'm working on it," and "he's not playing ball," came through the window clear as day. That's when I decided it was time to stop playing nice. I took that rental agreement to the county clerk's office and had it filed as a public record. Made it official. Once that was in the system, she couldn't say she was a guest. She was a tenant. A tenant with no claim to the land, the house, or even the guest key if I decided to change the lock. Next move was cleaner. I stopped mowing that part of the yard. Let the weeds grow up around the guest house. Just enough to make it feel separate. Amanda didn't like that. "Looks sloppy," she said. "Not my house," I replied. The kid, Eli, kept his distance. Still helped in the shop. Still quiet. But I caught him staring out the window more. Watching his mother on the phone, watching me work. Like he was trying to make sense of the play but didn't know what act we were in. Then came the money. Amanda dropped an envelope on my kitchen counter one morning. Said it was rent, cash. Inside was $85 and some change. Rent was $250. I didn't say anything. Just slid the envelope back across the counter and handed her a printed invoice, full balance, late fee included. No yelling. No drama. Just business. She didn't pay the rest. That same day, I called Sheriff Denton, man I'd known since high school, and asked him a hypothetical. Say a tenant's overdue, violated terms, and might be up to something shady. What's my play? Denton just chuckled. "Jack, you've always been polite. But if you're lining up a shot, just let me know when to pull the trigger." "Not yet," I said. "Just making sure the safety's off." Amanda's smile was starting to crack. Her stories weren't landing like they used to. The neighbors had cooled. The charm wasn't working. And she still didn't see it. Every smile, every signature, every time she thought she was in control, it was all going in the file. A file I was just about ready to hand off. Because the ground under her feet? It was already shifting. The day Amanda asked if I'd co-sign a loan for her was the day I knew we were getting close. Said it real casual, like it was no big thing. Just a signature. Just until she got on her feet. Said it'd help her buy a used car, maybe start a home business. I didn't even blink. Just said, no. She laughed at first, like she thought I was joking. I wasn't. After that, the cold started showing. She stopped waving when I came home from work. Stopped sending Eli over with leftover food. Started locking the guest house door even though no one was trying to get in. Didn't bother me. That part of the plan was already baked. I spent the next few days chopping firewood. Not because I needed it, but because it gave me an excuse to work where I could see her window. Every split log, every grunt, I made sure she heard it. Not anger. Just presence. Eli kept coming around. Said school was going rough. Teachers didn't take his mom's calls. She wasn't checking his homework. I asked if he needed help. He said yes. That night, I printed off some old GED prep material and walked it out to the guest house. Knocked. Amanda answered, eyeing the papers like I was serving a subpoena. "It's for the boy," I said. Didn't wait for a thank you. Just handed it off and walked away. Later that week, I filed an incident report, not a complaint, just a record. Listed the partial rent, property misuse, and suspicious behavior. Sheriff Denton stamped it himself. "Just in case she starts flappin' her gums," I said. Denton nodded. "We're keepin' an eye." I also dropped off copies of the lease, her missed payments, and a signed statement from the neighbor who saw the church friends measuring the yard. That all went into a folder I marked eviction prep. At this point, Amanda was spending more time in town. Trying to rally sympathy. Dropping little stories in people's ears, about how I changed, how I wasn't supportive, how I used the kids as leverage. Most folks didn't buy it. The rest didn't care. She was yesterday's drama trying to be today's news. Then came the flyer. Someone stuck it on my shop door. A business card with her name scribbled on it and a tagline, "Affordable Property Consulting." Consulting what, exactly? She had no license, no office, and no property of her own. But I took a picture. Saved it. Printed it. Another little addition to the file. I didn't confront her. Didn't ask what she thought she was doing. Because in about 2 more moves, she'd answer that question herself, in front of the right people, in the wrong way. And when she did, all I had to do was turn in the folder. About a month after she moved in, Amanda made her first real mistake. Not the small stuff, lying to folks, skipping rent, shady side hustles, no, this one had teeth. She tried to claim my land as hers. She put up a listing on some free real estate site, one of those sketchy, off-market investor gems, kind, and used old photos from when the place was in rough shape. Claimed she was representing the seller and that the guest house had income potential. Problem was, she used the main address. My name. My land. Someone in town spotted it. Forwarded it to me with a laughing emoji and a, "You see this?" I saw it, all right. Didn't get mad. Didn't call her out. I just took a screenshot, printed the page, and added it to the folder. Then I called my lawyer. "Time to pull the trigger?" Dave asked. "Almost," I said. "Just need one more thing." That came the next morning. I stopped by the guest house, knocked once, and waited. Amanda opened the door with that look on her face, tired, irritated, makeup worn down to the truth. I handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Notice to vacate," I said. She blinked. "For what?" "For fraud, breach of agreement, and attempted property misrepresentation. Read the fine print." She didn't. She yelled instead. "You can't just kick me out. I'm the mother of your kids." "No," I said, calm as a lake in December. "You were." Eli stood behind her, watching the whole thing. I looked him in the eye. "You've got 2 weeks," I said. "After that, the sheriff comes." She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. Later that day, she tried to file a countersuit, some nonsense claim about shared property interest. But see, that's the beauty of paperwork. The lease, the filed notices, the receipts, they weren't just for show. I faxed the whole stack to the county clerk. By the time her claim hit the system, it got flagged as invalid. Then I took it one step further. I walked into the diner during lunch rush, nodded to Connie, and said just loud enough, "Looks like she's trying to sell my house." Shame she didn't own it. Didn't have to say more. Word spread like wildfire through dry grass. By sunset, Amanda had gone from comeback queen to town punchline. And Eli? He came by the shop after dinner. Quiet, like always. "Is it really happening?" he asked. I nodded. Yeah. But you'll be alright. He looked down. I like it here. Then we'll figure something out, I said. Because the boy wasn't the enemy. Just collateral in someone else's scam. Amanda? She made her bed. And now, it was time for her to lay in it. 3 days after the eviction notice hit her door, Amanda got served. Real papers this time. Civil suit, fraudulent representation, unpaid rent, and attempted misappropriation of property. I didn't file it to win money. I filed it to shut every door she thought she could slip through. She stormed up to the shop like a tornado in flip-flops, paper in hand, mouth already firing. You think this is fair? Nope, I said, stacking lumber. It's just legal. You can't ruin me over a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding is when you park in the wrong spot. Not when you try to sell the house you're squatting in. That shut her up for a second. Then she made the mistake I'd been waiting on. She went to the sheriff. Tried to file a harassment claim. Problem was, Denton had the folder. And the screenshots. And a printed statement from one of her dinner guests, who told the truth after I offered to cover his unpaid plumbing bill if he signed. Denton called me after. She dug her own hole, he said. Just tell me when you want her out. Friday, I said. After school's out. Kid don't need to watch it. That Friday, while Eli was at a friend's house, I stood on the porch as the deputy delivered the final notice. She was out by sundown. Amanda cried. Not loud, not dramatic. Just sat on the porch steps, head in her hands, like she'd finally realized there was no angle left. I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. An hour later, her car was packed. Clothes stuffed in trash bags. No goodbye. No apology. She didn't even knock on the door. She just drove off with her trunk bungee-corded shut and her life in the back seat. I watched the taillights disappear down the gravel road. Then I walked to the guest house, changed the locks, and called the electrician to cut power. The sheriff's office finalized the civil suit a week later. Case closed. Her business, consulting, site? Gone. Her reputation? Shot. Her friends? Scattered. Amanda had tried to rebuild her world on someone else's foundation. She forgot I built the place. From the dirt up. By the end of that week, every thread Amanda had been pulling finally snapped. Turns out she hadn't just been lying to me. She'd borrowed money from 2 other folks in town, small amounts, different stories. Claimed she was waiting on a payout from her consulting deal. Promised interest. Never paid a cent. Both of them came knocking on my door, thinking I was part of it. I set them straight. Even showed them the eviction papers. Then I pointed them toward the courthouse. And they followed. Filed claims of their own. Just enough to get her flagged in the state system. Just enough to ruin her credit, what was left of it. Just enough to make sure no landlord from here to Nashville would touch her without a 5-year deposit and a background check so long it needed an index. The best part? She didn't know how far I'd taken it. See, months before she ever knocked on my door, I'd been keeping tabs. Quiet like. Checked public records. Kept an eye on her social accounts. Saw she was drifting, half-employed, leaning on folks like scaffolding. It was about balance. She'd tipped the scale a long time ago. I just evened it out.